Hey guys, it's Norm from Tested.com. I'm here at World Headquarters. It sounds pretty big, but it's actually an art space on Treasure Island in San Francisco. I'm here with Leo Villareal. You're an artist, a light sculptor, I guess you'd call yourself?
Yeah, that's right. I studied sculpture originally, then got into technology in the early 90s, and eventually found my way to working with light.
And your latest sculpture, your latest project is the Bay Lights. That's for the Bay Bridge in San Francisco. Explain what that is.
What we're working on is attaching 25,000 white LED nodes to the suspender cables of the bridge between San Francisco and Treasure Island, and it's a 1.8 span of the bridge, and it's mounted on the north side, so facing the Embarcadero.
So the west span of the bridge on the north side, on one side. So basically, if not when you're driving along the bridge, but if you're on the pier on the Embarcadero and you look toward the bridge, you're going to basically see a light show for the next 2 years, a programmed, choreographed light show. So how did that whole project come about?
Well, Ben Davis had this idea of turning the bridge into a canvas and invited me to think about it and to create a proposal. So I made a visualization, which you can see at thebaylights.org, which I did by making a model of the bridge and putting the lights on there to scale, and then I used After Effects and Photoshop and a bunch of different digital tools to create a visualization, which has been incredibly useful in showing people what this piece could look like. Particularly people who run the bridge, Caltrans, and all these government organizations, because you could talk about putting lights on a bridge, and that means a lot of things to a lot of different people, but actually seeing that simulation was incredibly powerful. This is definitely the largest scale structure I've ever worked with. I mean, I've done some large scale pieces, on facades of buildings and in museums and a lot of different places, but this is definitely a new scale for me.
So give us a sense of how this light sculpture works. You have LEDs, you said 25,000 of them, and it's actually similar to what we have here. Yeah. It's actually, each node, you called them, is 5 LEDs, which are dimmable, right? And then these are fixed a foot apart along the suspension bridge. Like, how does that, what do you envision in your head before you start on the project that would look like?
Well, I knew that it would be exciting to use 25,000 individually controllable points of light, and I have 255 levels of brightness per point. And I think it's a different way of lighting a bridge. Instead of just washing it with color or all the things you normally do, this is using intelligent lighting. So I have full control over each of those points. And we did a bunch of tests to figure out which lights would work best, what density of light we needed, and did many experiments to figure out the right level of light. And what we came up with was this this system made by Philips. Philips bought a company called Color Kinetics, which are some of the pioneers in sort of intelligent lighting. And I've used this product in many other installations, so I have a lot of confidence in their work, and their engineers are really great. So what the system consists of are LED nodes on a string, 50 come on a string, and those are hooked to a power supply that receives power and sends out low voltage to the lights to illuminate them, but it also sends out data. It takes in Ethernet packets, so each power supply has an IP address, and then sends out the right byte to the right light. So we have a huge network installed on the bridge. We have 1.8 mile long fiber along the whole bridge, and then a whole set of switches and all kinds of stuff that no one would ever think you would need in order to do this stuff. But beyond just distributing power, we need to distribute the data.
And all of that is controlled by a program that you designed, so you can actually program a sequence. And what does that entail, the sequencing of the lights?
Well, that's really what distinguishes my work. My work is I'm coming at this as an artist, so this is a piece of artwork, and I think what makes it different than other things you would see is the care that's put into the sequencing of the lights. So I make all my own tools. So I'm using. Initially, I was programming my own pieces, but it got beyond what I could do myself, and I found a whole series of programmers I've worked with over the years to develop custom tools. Some were done in Max, MSP. Then in controlling more and more nodes, we had some performance issues and had to go to a custom written program in C++. So that's what's actually controlling the lights. So we're using data, we use video as a container to store the data, where there's a movie and each pixel is actually attached to a light. So it's a one-to-one mapping. And then it samples those videos and then sends out UDP packets to the lights. There's a lot of random elements, a lot of chance in my process. I'm using, I'm very interested in artificial life and emergent behavior. So I create certain conditions and then let my program run. And when it does something that surprises me, something that's compelling, I capture that moment. So I'm gathering these discoveries, and then I'm doing a whole other process of layering them together, refining them, and in the end, the sequences are shown in a random order and for a random amount of time. So it's being dynamically recombined on the fly. So that's what I've come up with as a way of making the piece always seem fresh and new, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, there's only so much you can anticipate. And even in your previous works, whether using 25,000 or 40,000 LEDs, the response is something that you can never anticipate, right?
I mean, I'm interested in being, I want to be surprised. Working with certain constraints, I have, the scale of the display, this many lights, it's all monochrome. The lights are only white. They'll never do anything in color. So there's certain constraints. But then within that, there's all these possibilities. And I don't know in advance, but I'm here working it out, and it's not something I can do back in New York at my studio. I have to sit in front of the bridge and program and really get a feel for it, because it's almost like tuning a musical instrument, where you want it to feel just right, the right level, where it's legible and it's really augmenting what we see out here in the Bay Area, and it's not about overwhelming, and it's not about kind of taking over or anything like that. It's really working with the systems which are already in place.
Yeah. So there's a lot of thought that other people might not expect to go into a project like this. Consideration both on the artistic side and on the engineering side. Thank you so much, Leo. We can't wait to see it show up on the bridge. And then we're going to speak with Timothy Childs, who helped you with the engineering aspect and getting these lights actually affixed to that bridge. Thank you, and we can't wait to see it on the bridge. Thank you. So I'm here with Timothy Childs. You're the founder of World Headquarters, and you're on the board of Illuminate the Arts. That's the organization that kind of produced the Bay Lights project. How did you get involved, and what was your role in this?
Well, thanks for being here today, because where you're at right now is you're in the core of World Headquarters. We're in the bridge room. And how I got involved in the project was mutual friends of ours, Ben Davis and the lot, were saying that we're going to work on this really great, crazy big project. And so we had an early meeting here in the bridge room, offered up the space, and we started looking at what it would take to do that. And this crazy, great, audacious project kind of took hold in previous meetings and that meeting and other meetings. And it's just really been amazing to watch the whole process. So that's how I got involved. Some friends just asked me, say, hey, you should know about this. So.
And World Headquarters here, you guys address the technical challenges of affixing these lights to the Bay Bridge. And you guys use some prototyping equipment, some MakerBots, 3D printers. And so what was that process involved?
So basically the challenge was how to attach the lights actually to the cable, and the solutions that were provided by the light manufacturer were kind of substandard and expensive. And so we kind of did some prototyping of trying to mount the lights in a rail, and we came up with a way to do that. And through that meeting, working with the contractors, the folks putting on the bridge, we actually kind of spontaneously came up with this idea of moving it from say this little first clip, there's the first one we came up with that would go in a rail, to Jean Pablo saying, hey, what if we just put it right on the thing like that? So we sat down and said, we'll come up with a solution, and we just sketched it out, and within 4 weeks, I think we went from this clip to a whole bunch of different versions of them to finally this injection molded version. We were originally going to do them all in MakerBots, because it's
Plus ABS plastic.
Totally, right. But I think the concept of rapid prototyping or 3D printing was kind of unknown for folks that are used to really solid, stable parts. So we agreed to go ahead and get them injection molded. So what's really cool about it, I can tell you a little bit how we do the process. You want to hear about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, 25,000 lights, that's a lot of time on MakerBots. A lot of MakerBots 3D printing if you're going to do it that way.
Well, we did the calculations, and we are going to swarm it with 12 different MakerBots and hire some local kids to run them and stuff. So, but and if you looked at the timing of the project, it would have worked out.
Eventually got out there, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's just as well that we do this way, because they end up being nice and clear, and they turn out to be great little art pieces themselves. So how we went about it was we went on, John Pablo and I and a few other guys, we went up on the bridge itself, and using Autodesk 123D Catch, we just did some basic photogrammetry, just grabbed like 7 shots. And this piece of cable, we chose this one because it has kind of all paint. You can see all the paints all loaded up on it and stuff, so we can get a realistic approximation of what it would take to put something on there. And then from that, we made a 3D model, and then we started working on different kind of parametric software, parametric-based software to keep changing the parameters to make the right fit. And then we kept working with the installers, and we ended up wanting to have a design that the zip tie fits in really perfectly, right? You know, kind of like the Apple box, you know, fits with just enough tension. And what we didn't realize, the unintended consequences of that was that the installers were able to preload the zip ties in the tie before they went up on the bridge. And so that really saved a lot of time. Instead of having to do that on the bridge, they would just grab a finished piece. And so how the construction of it is, it's got basically a little groove that fits the power and the data cable for it, and a couple little other slots to hold the power cables that go up to the control boxes. And this is, unlike on the bridge, it's every 12 inches. This is 6 inches to kind of get a simplified version of the model. And just put on a tie wrap, really high quality industrial zip tie, and that's it, zip.
Right, so instead of using a rail, which would have spanned the entire length of a cable, it's being tied directly to the cable. These aren't rails, these are just power cables right here.
Exactly. There's basically one power cable goes to one box, and each controller box basically does approximately 50 lights. Some of them are shorter, some are longer, but it's usually about 50 lights. So a lot of boxes. And then since you're 25 lights, Leo's programming the 25 lights, but at each light there's 2 clips, and so that's 50,000 clips for 25,000 lights. So
again, it would have been a lot of MakerBots. We have a MakerBot, we'd have gladly helped.
Well, that was one of the things we were thinking about doing, was actually do a community-based thing as well, as just go ahead and send it out to a whole bunch of people and just kind of pay for the plastic and have people have a chance to be associated with it. But this turned out great. And well, the cool thing about it though is just the speed of kind of coming up with an idea, brainstorming, coming in this room and whiteboarding it out, and be able to print it right there, like in 30 minutes, and go into 5 or 6 different revs within just a couple of weeks was just so significant. It's significant kind of how it identifies kind of where we are right now in prototyping in the world. It's really exciting.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Timothy. We'll definitely have to come back and check out more of your art projects here at World Headquarters. We're in our backyard, and this is definitely one of those things that it's amazing seeing come to reality.
You got it. It's a perfect kind of combination of science and technology and art and community. So look forward to having you back.
Thanks. So we are here on Pier 14 in San Francisco in front of your work, and you've been coming out here to do some tests on the lights. The lights are all installed. They look beautiful in the background, but you get to control them directly when you're running your tests.
Yeah, that's really important, that I'm able to see what I'm doing directly with the lights, because I have a representation on the screen.
Which you mentioned earlier, it's a video image, and each pixel represents
one light.
Yeah, one light.
So it just samples this video, and whatever's happening here goes up there.
Oh, wow.
So but I could never work just based on this image, because you don't really get that
looking
much
at the
information.
matrix. Yeah,
it's like, you have to see the lights themselves in space and really make very fine adjustments. So this is all custom software that we've written, and it's right now, like, this is one single layer of sequences. So we have different kinds of generators. So this is generating a kind of a gradient pattern that moves across.
Right, it's moving right across.
And you can adjust the speed and et cetera. Here's another layer, which is more of a kind of a particle system of different things kind of moving across. And you see that it like there's a, continues across the bridge.
Yeah, this one I think is really striking. Pulsating light up and down.
And here's another layer. So all these are all independent, and then I'm able to mix them together. So when you're looking at it, it's a combination of layers, and it's all blended, and that will be all randomized in the final product too. So you're not seeing a loop that's repeating over and over again. It's something that's being dynamically recombined.
So as an artist, like, your palette is these layers, and then your canvas are the 4 parts of the suspension bridge. How do you, like, what are your goals when you're mixing and matching these?
My goal is to make it feel really integrated and appropriate. So when it starts, the sequences start to look like the surface of the water that I'm seeing now with the light rippling on it, then that resonates for me, and I think
Yeah.
that works. But it's, it's hard to describe very precisely. It's like one of these things when you just know, you have this gut feeling that yes, this is working. But I don't know in advance, so I really am out here figuring it out. And there's no way for me to do this back in my studio. I can't set this up there, obviously, and I can't put a curtain over it either. So I'm working it out here in public, and anyone can see the progress, and they're seeing little bits and pieces, and we're debugging, and but that's just part of it. And I think that it's probably interesting for people to see it come about, and by March 5th it will become much more kind of refined.
Do you take in consideration also, fog, obviously, or big fog city here,
Yeah.
and different weather conditions, because they'll be running throughout the entire year, so it's going to look different at different times of the year.
Absolutely, and I'm really looking forward to that, and to seeing, and everyone, people will. It's going to be like a series of impressions. You'll see it from one location. There's no one spot to look at it, no one single spot. It's like you'll see it from close, from far, and and the conditions will be different. The sky, the weather, all those different factors I think will be interesting for people. So overall you'll get a sense of what the piece is, but it's not about any one single moment.
What are you doing tonight in terms of your testing?
I have just really trying different things out, different combinations. The possibilities are infinite. So it's there's a lot of see what happens.
As an artist,
Yeah.
as you're working on your work, it's such a public piece of work. Is that strange than revealing something, for this launch day?
No, it's great, and what's exciting for me is creating a focal point, and everyone's gathering, and they're coming down to the Embarcadero and looking at it, and suddenly people who'd never be talking are talking about it, and it's creating community down here, which is really that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, even though it's only been installed and running for the past couple of weeks when we were testing, it already feels really integrated into the city. Like, for example, if you turned off the lights, it looks really empty, and it's
Well, my goal is for the piece to have a real feeling of personality and being very much alive and organic. So people get, it becomes part of their environment, and when it's not there, you kind of miss it. And I've already heard that from several people. So to me, that's the ultimate success, is if you can make something that people really want to make part of their lives, and that feels appropriate, then that will have succeeded.
Well, as a San Franciscan, I want to thank you for this,
My
and
pleasure.
it's an amazing piece of work.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it really go live on the trip.
Cool.